Trees are living things, and we want to reveal some of that energy in the way we make our marks. This is a chance to explore ideas, to explore mark making on the paper. And so I'd like to look at different ways of making those marks to express each tree using a pencil, a biro, a felt tip and charcoal. One of the fundamental things for me as an artist is to observe things, to look really closely with fresh eyes. If you can look at something close enough to be able to draw it, then you can really learn how that tree grows or how that shape fits into the environment. So in this workshop, I'd like people to get the chance to actually go outside, have a look at the environment around them, find a tree that they really like, just gaze at it for a little bit, see how the branches grow, see what sort of shape it's making, and then make a little drawing that's based on that energy they see growing in front of them. You saw me drawing outside with the pencil, drawing the birch trees. It's good to have a think about what drawing tool you want to use for different trees. I really felt the softness of those branches on the birch lent itself to drawing with a pencil. And so I'm going to just start making some marks on the paper. The great thing about drawing with pencil is that it allows you to make these very varied marks, pressing on sometimes like this and then softening it. So you get this very delicate line, which is just how the branches grow as they swell a little bit where they're going to branch off into other shapes. And that's the lovely thing about using a pencil. It allows that really soft, delicate mark. If you haven't got a pencil or you want to try something else, then just using a biro works as well, of course, for a drawing. It's a little bit unrelenting. It doesn't let you make the really light marks that you're getting with the pencil, but you get a very nice black line. And you can change the pressure as you press onto the paper or not to get that similar feeling. And what you can do is you can build up a whole tracery of marks right across the paper, just like those birch branches we saw. And there we are, you're gradually building up the marks across the whole piece of paper, and in a way you're making a picture in its own right, but it's a picture made with marks rather than a picture of a tree or particular branches. You can also draw with a felt tip, which I'm sure you can find around the house as well. The thing about drawing with a felt tip is that it's very unforgiving. The moment you start putting that felt tip on a piece of paper, you're really committed to making those marks. But I thought it'd be interesting to show what it's like using a felt tip. And the tree that seems to lend itself to that is the ash tree, because an ash tree has these big sweeping twigs that come to a point and then move on. And at the end of each twig, there's a bud. So the felt tip is really good for making these sort of marks. The thing about the ash tree is it has these sweeping lines to it. So the felt tip is quite good for revealing that. And the way it comes to these buds, rather nice. Felt tip seems at its best when you can make sweeping gestures like this across the paper. It's a very black mark. It's very good for making crisp marks on the paper. And there you have it, a series of marks with the felt tip right across the paper that creates this very different energy, this very direct way of making the marks. And it somehow captures the essence of the ash tree as well. And finally, I thought we'd got to do a drawing in charcoal because it's one of my favourite things to draw with. You might have a bit of charcoal somewhere, maybe your school has got some, or maybe you got some at home. If you haven't got any in the house, don't worry, use a pencil, but you can also get charcoal in a good office supplies, a good newsagent, or maybe an art materials shop nearby, and of course online as well. It's a lovely thing to draw with, and the tree that seems to lend itself so well to the charcoal is the oak tree, because the thing about an oak tree is it just so different to the other trees. It wants to twist. Every time you think it's growing in one direction, it wants to go in another one. So I'm using the charcoal sideways on. I'm just using the edge of the charcoal here to explore the shapes of those branches, really wriggling up into the sky. Same thing, I'm pressing on sometimes, not in other places. But then along comes a great big branch, twisting all the way through, going off in different directions. And getting more delicate towards the edge. So for that you can use a thinner piece of charcoal and draw some of the branches that are coming off it. Even they are going in different directions. You can see how I'm trying to build up the energy on the paper and to recreate the feeling of that oak tree growing. As I say, I'm drawing this at the drawing board. It'd be great if you can draw this outside and say go in the park, find an oak tree that's growing there and just see how those branches wriggle and climb up towards the sky. Well, we've seen all the different marks you can make to draw different types of trees and different drawing tools, pencils, biros, felt tips and charcoal. I thought it'd be just interesting to bring that all together into one or two final ideas. One thing that would be interesting to do would be to think about drawing those branches that you've got. But instead of thinking of the shape of the branches, think about the spaces you're creating between the branches. So this is what we call the negative space. It's the shapes between things. And you can start to explore that, perhaps shading those in a bit to show different qualities. And at this point, we can stop observing things so much, but start to get creative in our own way, so we can start to add our own shapes. And this is really interesting because this is how I start to think about shapes. I start by close observation of the real world around me, and then I start to bring my own ideas onto that. So it's like layers of different creativity coming. So maybe you'd like to have a look at developing some of those shapes and patterns across your paper as well. Maybe some of you just want to draw a picture of a tree, and why not? So that workshop session, we've looked at all different sort of marks you can make. Remember, I really like the idea of drawing trees so they grow up from the ground. If you want to make a picture of a tree, you're actually in a great position to do that now, because we've looked at all the different marks you can make to show a tree growing. Sometimes hard marks, sometimes soft marks. And there we are. by all means, if you want to make a picture of a tree, that would be lovely, because you've got a whole skill set now of different marks you can make. And if you would like to send us some images of your trees as well, that would be great.